Welcome back, everybody. So it's me again, and this is officially podcast number 2. So I'm keeping up with my commitment that I made on the last one that I wrote about Pride and put online. And started a YouTube channel, and we are officially now calling this Frankly Speaking. So thank you, Nadine Hirschner, for coming up with a logo. Thank you, Jackie Young, for encouraging me in my shenanigans. Thank you, Michael Madonia, for advocating for me to speak to the masses. And we're going to go ahead and get started. And one thing I want to address specifically is that last week I made a comment in my post, and it was in regards to my voice. And I think the exact words I used were something along the lines of, "Oh my God, I sound like a giant homosexual." So didn't really think anything of it because I was hearing my voice and it was a little weird for me. It was amazing how many comments I got. So I had a lot of people reach out to me, direct message, reach out, text. Some people just shot a quick messenger on Facebook. There was a few comments that actually went in the comment section. And it made me start thinking, why the hell did I even say that? Because I'm totally happy with my voice. I have no problem with my voice. And then I thought about it, and it became the idea for the next podcast. So today what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about the gay voice. Joke or joy? And for some people, I know this sounds kind of wonky, but it's funny. For some, it's familiar. And for some, it's actually kind of painful. So it's the one thing that we've spent years and years trying to hide as a culture. We try to hide it on phone calls, job interviews, first dates, in the locker room, family dinners, drive-through speakers at Jack in the Box, and anywhere else that our voice could theoretically betray the secret, quote unquote, that we're trying to keep before we're ready to share it. Now, let's be honest. Everybody thinks they can identify the gay voice. And sorry about my brace. I tore a rotator cuff and it's a whole thing. So you're going to have to put up with my really sexy fashion accessory during this whole podcast. So talking about the gay voice, there's like a certain brightness. There's like a musical cadence to it, kind of a crispness around the letter S that we talk about, a little bit of drama in the vowels. And then suddenly when people hear these things, they become like a one-person FBI unit starting to investigate. Oh my God, I know what you are. It's kind of interesting, but when we talk about it, it really becomes kind of fabulous. And these are people that are now watching us. So when we look at it, there's actually kind of a basic truth. There's no one single gay voice. So there's gay men with deep voices, soft voices, nasal, booming, quiet, little raspy, country voices, corporate voices, preacher voices, all the things. They sound like they were assembled entirely from a bunch of reservations and a bunch of people that were standing around drinking iced coffee and ordering at Starbucks, because there's all different types that are out there. But it's even more interesting than that. It becomes an issue of culture. So I went down a rabbit hole because I started to think about this and why I personally said what I said on my last podcast, but also why it becomes, I guess, almost a stigma in our culture and in our community. And it really comes down to identity. It's about performance, because we're gay. Hello, we perform, that's what we do. But it's also safety, it's community, and sometimes it's just unconscious. Sometimes it's deliberate, and more often it's a whole lifetime of learning how to be heard or how to hide. Now, when we talk about the gay voice, what do we mean when we say gay voice? We're often talking about a really specific set of speech patterns that are stereotypically associated with gay men and women, specifically in North American English. So when I started to do some research on this and dig into it, I went way down the rabbit hole. And I found a lot of things that I had no idea. There's something that's actually called code switching. And it's a literal term that refers to, I like to call it the Home Depot voice, and then your real voice. So the voice that I might use when, I talk to the air conditioner repairman, or I'm at the mechanic's shop when I take my car in, versus the voice I use when I'm at brunch or when I'm at Beers with the Boys on Friday night. They're two very different voices. Now, the Home Depot voice is going to be lower. It's going to be a little bit more monotone. It's going to be flat. It's going to be along the lines of what it is right now. I'm not going to enunciate vowels. I'm probably going to keep my head down a little bit more. But then when I go out for Beers with the Boys, it goes up a couple octaves. I start to, hang on my S's. We start to extend our vowels. We use our hands more facial expressions. It's so varied. It includes pitch, expressive intonation, pronunciation, and sounds that are more animated or emotionally open compared to what the traditional norms that are associated with the gender that we're physically associated with, whether that be male or female. But the science doesn't say that all gay men and women sound the same way. It definitely does not say that voice can reliably reveal someone's sexuality. And that's kind of important because the stereotypes take a little tiny piece of truth, put a little bit of glitter into it, shove it in a cannon, and then fire it across the entire culture. So there are some gay men that speak in ways and some gay women that speak in ways that listeners perceive as gay. Some don't. So straight men have voices that people read as straight. Gay men have voices that people read as gay. Some gay men have voices that read as straight, and some straight men have voices that read as gay. The voices don't connotate the sexual orientation. They're just associated with individuals and how they express themselves. So human beings, tragically, for lack of a better term, remain more complicated than basically the TikTok section comments area that you would look at. So it gets really complicated. So looking at voice as basically a social instrument, there's a ton of studies out there, and linguists have gone into speech and identity and try to point out that our voices shift depending on context. So some of you guys out there that may be gay men and women might already do this. Hold, please. I had to take a sip of my juice, also known as wine. You have a work voice, okay? You have a voice that you use when you're in your professional environment. There's a family voice when you're at functions. There's a phone voice when you pick up and you're talking to customer service rep A, B, or C. There's a voice you use when you explain something to a child. So we all have those different types of tonalities and presentations that we do. There's also a voice you use when your food arrives and you say, "Oh my God, this looks amazing," even though you're totally about to destroy it like a raccoon in a parking lot, but you're trying to make it sound cute, right? Everybody has those. Those of us that are queer are no different. We also have those voices. So speech is a signal belonging. It's something we use, and think back to like the 60s and the 70s. So this is the educational moment, right? In the 60s and the 70s, we as gay men and women did not have the opportunity to broadcast who we were. So there had to be signals. It may be, a certain flower in your lapel. It may be where you wore your vest, or did you not wear a vest? It could be, what was the type of shoes you wore or how you crossed your legs. We had signals, but one of the biggest signals we had was our voice. I mean, not that long ago, because the 60s and the 70s aren't that far back. I mean, that's like when I was born, right? Late 60s, early 70s. And when you look at some of this, we couldn't go into an establishment and stand up or like get on a table and be like, "Hey, I'm gay, come sit next to me," because we would actually suffer the repercussions of it. It could be physical harm, it could be jail, it could be some really serious things. And, in certain areas, it could have even been death. So with the gay voice, it wasn't really a way of expression, it was a signal, it was a beacon. It was something that we put out there that stated, come sit next to me, you're safe. I'm a okay place. Come by me. We can vibe. We can get along. And it's not a rainbow flag on a pole, but it's like a little flag in the sentence, in the rhythm that signals, hey, we are kin. So basically your voices are like a little porch light. Like you turn the light on, you turn the light off. So what does that voice look like before the closet door even opens, right? So we're still in the closet, we still have those voices, we still have that, what does that mean to us and how do we show up? And I think everybody that is gay, that, may be listening to this podcast, you can remember that exact moment back in middle school or high school where you finally got called out on your voice. I remember mine. Like, I specifically remember mine. And I know a lot of other people do, whether they be gay men or gay women, the queer community as a whole. And we're then conditioned. We're bullied. There may be humans that make fun of us. We're singled out. And we may get that comment, if we're a boy, don't talk like that. Maybe you were asked, why do you sound like a girl? Maybe adults laughed at you and giggled because they thought it was cute. Maybe other kids imitated you and made fun of you. Somebody repeated your own voice back to you in a cruel little cartoon version. We were all there at some point. And then suddenly you realize, I need to protect myself. And you change your voice, you code switch. And that was supposed to be the natural bridge between your inside world and your outside world, but then it became a security risk. So that's where it gets a little heartbreaking, right? Because that's something that's instilled in us because of the environments that we grew up. So children don't choose their voices. Like kids in middle school and high school, you don't choose your voice as a political statement. It's just your voice. But a child's voice isn't just a voice. It says, I'm here. It says, listen to me. It says, I have a question. It says, can I have a snack? I'd like some goldfish crackers. I mean, there's all the things that are associated with it. And then the world looks back and says, can you say that a little more butch? Can you be a little more masculine? Or if it's a female, it's, can you soften that a little bit? That's a little raspy. You sound a little bit like you're kind of bullish, like you're kind of dykey. It's something that we all hear. So that's when we start doing something that's called self-policing. So it means you become your own guard. And this is where it gets really complicated. So you listen to yourself when you're speaking, and then you start editing yourself in real time. So if it's too high, bring it down. If it's too expressive, flatten it out. If it's too excited, act bored. If it's too soft, toughen up. Too much, be less. I mean, and it goes on, right? When you look at that, after years of that, you don't even realize what your natural voice sounds like anymore because you're playing all different versions of yourself. And this is something that's very normal in our community. It's something that runs rampant in our community, actually, because, I mean, I've met guys that I've been interested in before, and I've caught myself that I don't speak in my normal voice. I go into my Home Depot voice and I take it down a couple notches, and I don't enunciate any vowels, and I don't express my S's, and all the things. But then I realize this is my normal voice. Anybody see the movie Bros? I mean, I know it's a campy movie, but there's a lot of pieces about it that are really impactful. And there's a scene in that movie specifically where one of the main characters breaks up with the gentleman that he's seeing, dating, whatever we want to call it, and he meets somebody in the gym. And when he meets this guy in the gym, he's gorgeous. Like, the man is stunning. He literally, and he's more effeminate in his voice. He has a higher inflection. He drags on the S's and the vowels a little bit. He has the gay gasp, which is more of a, no, that's the gay gasp. I mean, we all use it. Or girl, that's another version of the gay gasp, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But when he meets this man, he wants to, get some shenanigans going. So he takes his voice and he drops it into his Home Depot voice. He drops it down. They connect, they hook up, they go back to this guy's place. Long story short, Wham bam, thank you, ma'am. And after it's all said and done, they're having a conversation, and he's just so like, that was amazing. He forgets and goes back to his normal voice. The person that he was with instantly was like, whoa, what the hell just happened? And anybody that saw the movie probably remembers this. Now our main character is like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. This is really how I am. I just made that voice because I thought you wouldn't like me. Remember that. I thought you wouldn't like me if you knew what I really sounded like. The gentleman that he just wound up spending time with replied to him, I don't have a problem with your voice. What I have a problem with is that you hid who you really are. I would have liked you regardless of what you sounded like. Like a brick upside the head. And it's true. It's the safe voice, right? It's the interview voice. It's the talking to dad voice. It's what that sounds like, and it's what we use as a safety mechanism. So here's where we get into the deeper issue. It's not just about the gay voice. It's about femininity. And it's about really undermining the femininity and over-indexing on the masculinity. And that's whether you're a queer man or a queer woman. There's a dichotomy across both, right? Women are supposed to sound softer and more cultured and calm and a very specific cadence. Men are supposed to sound a little more gruff. And this is what we're taught. We're supposed to sound more butch, quote unquote. There's very much a predication that's given out there of what we're supposed to be. And honestly, when we're being told, don't do X, don't do Y, can you be more Z, can you be more 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, can you be less A, B, C, D, E, what we're doing is we're failing at being masculine or feminine, and we're having to conform to social norms. It's exhausting. It's absolutely exhausting. Because at the end of the day, it's not about masculinity and femininity. It's about the emotional range of where we're at. And honest to God, that emotional range is like the equivalent of a refrigerator manual. There's nothing really exciting about it. We forget to be who we are because we're having to conform to a very specific agenda. Like, hello, I am man. I enjoy meat. I enjoy talking about the weather. And I enjoy saying, hey, bro, what's up? That's not the case. That's not the case for all of us. I don't think I ever use the word bro except for this podcast. It's just the way it goes. So it actually gets kind of funny. So let's give the comedy portion its moment. Really, with the gay voice, it's given us some of the greatest verbal seasoning in human history. I mean, it gets a lot of laughs in a lot of venues, whether they be in Hollywood, whether they be on radio, whether they be in music, all the different aspects and all the different venues. But there's a really particular talent for queer individuals for making one syllable do the work of an entire TED Talk. Like one syllable. Like a straight person might say, no. A gay person might say, no. And somehow that no, it communicates, I disagree. I'm concerned for you, and your outfit is confusing. Your relationship is doomed, but yes, I will be attending for brunch. The word girl alone has like 8,497 meanings. Girl can mean hello. Girl can mean I'm sorry. Girl can mean absolutely not. Girl can mean you need to call a lawyer. And girl, well, that means you better get involved real quick because someone named Yolanda is about to get her ass whooped because she can't be trusted. So, I mean, there's a lot of aspects to it, but it's one word that we can communicate so many different things. It's like the word dude, right? So speech isn't just, when you summarize it, it's not really a decoration. It's art, it's timing, it's a community of knowledge, it's emotional punctuation, it's a lot of queer humor, and it lives in the rhythm, the pause, the exaggeration, the understatement, the tone, all of those things. And yeah, stereotypes can be harmful, but when we look at it, we can reclaim a mocked voice and turn it into comedy, beauty, and connection. That can be pretty powerful. And it's not just being reduced to a stereotype. That's just us taking the microphone back. That's us taking our control. That's the gay community, whether you be a queer man or a queer woman, saying, you know what, this is me, and I'm proud of who and what I am. So when you look at some of this, we look at what is the question behind it, and what's the most beautiful question behind it. What would your voice sound like if you were never punished for it? It's kind of powerful when you think about it, right? What would you sound like if nobody ever mocked you? Would you sound like you do today? Would you sound a different way? It's not just for someone who's gay. It's anybody as a human, right? Speech impediments, somebody who may stutter, whether you're straight, gay, bi, as yet to be determined, all the things. What would your laugh sound like? Would you hide your mouth when you laugh? Would you just let it go? Like, let go and let God. How loud would you sing in the car? How tender would you be if you're on the phone with somebody? How excited would you let yourself get? I mean, there's so many things. If we're speaking through a filter, do we or do we not choose them? So for some queer people, I mean, accepting your voice is part of accepting yourself. And the goal isn't really to force or make anyone sound more gay, less gay, more masculine, more feminine, less masculine, less feminine, or just more acceptable in general. The goal at the end of the day is having the freedom to be who you are. Have the freedom to express yourself as you feel is most appropriate for who you are as a human. The persons across the board, gay, straight, or otherwise, should be allowed to sound like themselves. So, the next time you hear somebody talk, the next time your brain reaches out for a label, you pause for a second, you listen a little deeper, think about it for a second. You're diagnosing them. Don't diagnose them. Accept the human that is standing in front of you at face value. Don't categorize them, because there's no category that they should fall in. If it's Mary, Billy, Bobby, Jimmy, or Joey, then they should be just Mary, Bobby, Jimmy, or Joey. We shouldn't have to decide whether or not they match the expectations that we thought when we looked at them visually. Listen for the person, because every voice is carrying someone. Every voice reflects someone, and every voice is beautiful in and of itself. So maybe at the end of the day, just the most loving thing we can do is let people sound like themselves without having them feel like they have to hide it or pay for it or suffer the repercussions if they don't. To anyone that's ever been mocked for your voice, to anyone that's ever said what I said, oh my God, I hate my voice, I sound like a big raging homosexual. Don't feel that way. Don't feel that you need to be corrected for your softness, teased for your brightness, or told that you have to dim your light. I want you to turn your light back up. Like, crank that bitch on high. Don't put the dimmer on. Like, this is you, and this is who you are. This is how you should be able to express yourself. And again, it is not just the gay community, but part of me wanting to put these podcasts out there is bridging the gap between the gay world and the straight world, and helping some of our straight brothers and sisters understand a little bit of where we were. The whole gay voice piece was born from a place of protection. It was born as a security mechanism. And now we're in a place where we don't have to think about that as much as we did 20, 30, and 40 years ago. Now we can be a little bit more expressive. We can be a little more open. Within reason, there are certain environments that we should obviously be more conservative, But in the scheme of things, we shouldn't have to feel that we need to be less than. So maybe this isn't a change that we make all at once. Maybe not we make everywhere, because at the end of the day, safety does matter. But it's something that we can think about when we're shifting into that Home Depot voice, and when we're doing the code switch. Maybe we don't need to do the code switch. Maybe we can just be ourselves, because the person standing across from us, even though we might read them based on their voice and how they spoke to us as straight, they might not be. They might be just like one of us. So if we don't speak our truth, if we don't say who we truly are, if we don't show up in our most pure of selves, are we truly being true to ourselves? And it's kind of a contradiction. Are we truly being true to ourselves? I mean, it's real. But little by little, I hope, I pray that your voice becomes a little less of a hiding place and a little more of a home. I mean, at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with sounding gay. I mean, I sound gay. I know it, and I admit it. But there's also nothing wrong with sounding straight or masculine. There's nothing wrong with sounding the way you do, because that is you. And you are beautiful just like you are. So on that note, may your S's be crisp, may your vowels be dramatic, and may your brunch reservations always be honored, and your voice, whatever it sounds like, be fully, gloriously, and unadulterated yours. So, again, we're right at time. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for listening. This was a little bit longer of a podcast than I normally do. For those of you that tuned in all the way, thank you for listening. For those of you that just popped in and want to throw some likes in, no problem. I'd love to hear your feedback. I'd love to get ideas for future podcasts from you. If there's something I said that stood out, if there's something that resonated with you, throw it in the comments. Let me know. Go to my YouTube channel. Frankly Speaking, you can find me on there. We have 2 podcasts now. We'll do one every Wednesday. As I always say, happy hump day, humans. I hope today you got a little bit out of it and you learned a little bit more about the community, and we keep bridging the gap between one world and the other. I appreciate each and every one of you. Bye, you guys. Have a great night.